I'm Luke Jamison.
And I'm Laura Butvinik, and we totally geek out about employee experience.
We're on a mission to discover how putting employees at the center of your organization impacts business.
So join us as we dive in with thought leaders, employee experts, and the best experience creators.
This is Boost, a podcast proudly powered by Centrical.
Here are your hosts, Luke and Laura.
G'day, and welcome to Boost.
I know you might be a little surprised to hear us on your feed this week.
Surprise!
But we have a super special bonus Boost episode we just could not wait to share. So let's bring our producer Jillian out here to intro our guest today.
Oh, you guys, I know this was a guest that we are so excited to have, and we kind of can't believe that we got him. He is a very busy man. So in this very special bonus episode of Boost, we are welcoming Centrical founder and CEO, Rimon, to the Boost stage. Gal is sharing his insights on personalization, coaching, gamification, basically everything employee engagement. And he's sharing a sneak peek at what you'll experience at Centrical's virtual event, which is happening next week, Success 2022. Luke and Laura, I know that we are so excited that Gal was interested in joining us today, and he has so much experience to share.
He really does. I think he has such a unique vision on all things employee experience. And mostly, I really want to get him in the hot seat for one of our games today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gal's been around for over 10 years, just dominating this space and just really leading this whole area. So this is just going to be awesome.
Well, I'm so excited to hear this conversation play out, but I think I'm going to have to do that from the wings. So I am going to exit the stage, and Luke and Laura, you can take it from here.
We got this, as always.
Thanks, Jillian.
Thanks, Jillian.
Introducing Gal Rimon. We ask every one of our guests this when they join, because it is a variety show. In the spirit of that, what little skill or special trick do you want to bring to Boost?
I think that one of my skills that are hidden, but definitely were critical for starting Centrical, was that I was a professional volleyball player and a coach. So I was part of the youth Israeli team for volleyball. And I think that was critical in forming the character of Gal and maybe even the character of Centrical.
Oh, expand.
When Centrical was established, it was based on the gamification elements. And gamification came definitely from many sports foundations. In sports, there is a score, right? In sports, you need to train. You need to learn all the time. You need to practice. In sports, there is a coach. There are leaders. There are people that need to work together. And therefore, a lot of the elements that you will find at Centrical actually were developed when probably I was 16 or 14 years old.
It's been getting it going since early. I tell you what, if we ever do have a corporate games, Laura and I call dibs on you on our team.
Yes, please. So, Gal, I want to hear from your point of view because you've got this cool bird's eye view on employee experience in general and employee experience trends. So what's on your mind right now? What's on your mind currently?
Currently, we talk a lot about Gen Z, and even my kids, that one of them I think is Gen Z and one is like Gen A, right? Alpha, or I call them Gen C. It's the Corona post-COVID generation, where I can't imagine my kid that is on YouTube and mobile and PC and iPad and so on, come to the organization and start using those boring operational software and guided by a manager that tells him what to do. And I can see it happening in 5 years, 6 years, 8 years. It should be an experience. It should be fun. It should be part of something more meaningful. So personalized, guided experience. I think this is the future.
I really want to dig into this kind of expectation, especially from younger folks, but I think everyone feels it because we all use these types of technologies and have these other experiences in places outside of work. It's something I think a lot with learning and training too. And we've spoken in a different episode about this idea of edutainment and bringing just other elements into learning and how the expectations for learning are different. Just like you're saying, the expectations for work are different. And so what are some of these other elements or tools or technologies or anything that leaders need to give their employees great experiences, do you think?
So when we started, I remember the years before Game Effective or Centrical, right? I was eating a bowl of French fries. And I started to gain weight before that. And years ago, I stopped playing volleyball. Yeah, I was a CEO of a big data company and gained weight. And I don't believe in diet because diet is a beginning and an end. Usually by the end of or a month after, you gain more weight than you even started. And therefore, I started to think of eating like sports, right? Okay, it would be a green day if I will practice. It would be a green day if I won't eat French fries or bad food for my body. It would be red day if I eat French fries or go to a great restaurant and traveling a lot. It would be a fight between the green and the red days. And the year was 2006. Hey, guys, please meet iPhone. And Fitbit wasn't there. So basically, I, in a way, invented Fitbit without Fitbit and mobile. Because now I didn't have technology, so I did this on Excel. And I lost weight. This is like the first, for me, it was the first use in gamification. I didn't know the term back then. And I said, oh, this is a great startup. But I was busy with my day job as a CEO and I put it aside. But after selling this company years later, I returned to this moment in time and then try to take the elements in the games, right? The rewards, the recognition, the feeling of accomplishing something, accumulating something, level up, and to create this type of performance experience that would be focused on achieving something where we connected to the real world of work. After the first customer, which was Yahoo, the second customer, one of, again, Fortune 500 companies, they came to me and they asked me a question that was very interesting. They asked me, can you gamify a learning experience? Mm-hmm. And initially, I wasn't an expert on learning. I was an expert on performance management and how to measure things. I'm a BI guy. But learning, I didn't understand learning or corporate learning. And then I started to dive deeper into what is learning. And I saw two things: completion, right? Number of hours, and second thing was the score. And that's it. This was all the information that those companies had on learning experiences. Then I noticed that they tried to move from the classroom to the e-learning, and they lost the best thing in classroom: the trainer, the coach, the guide, the teacher. And they converted the 45 minutes to 45 minutes of e-learning that were much more boring. And to be honest, they weren't relevant. Because when we dive deeper into it, we started to see that most of the time you learn things that are not relevant for you. If you have 40 hours of learning a year, most of the time you will learn things that won't help you to be more successful. And
this is the thing, right? This is how we do this in life. Like, we do this in life. Like, we don't go out and learn just because we have it, because there's learning out there. We know that we can learn anything, but there has to be a catalyst that drives that learning. And I think that's what we've seen with things like YouTube, right? You need to change the car tire. Oh, better look at that on YouTube.
And by the way, going back to my kid, I don't know but in Israel, we don't speak English. Maybe you hear from my accent. But my kid speaks English better than me. He's 11 years old.
Wow.
And it's only because of one thing, because he doesn't speak English with no one. But he only watches YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And so in the beginning, I looked at him and said, hey, Amir, do you understand what they say? I say, yeah, they're talking about this game and that game. And he got into this rabbit hole, right, of videos that were in good fit to his interest. So the engagement part was, it's interesting, it's relevant for me. The learning part was, for example, like English, of course, games, but let's put this aside, but let's utilize only the benefit for the parents. He learned English and he kept learning and evolving. And then he started watching videos that were much more for bigger kids. And then today it's almost professional videos. He's professional on English. So if I'm taking this back to this corporate experience that I was talking about, what they try to do is to take boring classroom experiences to turn it to a much more boring e-learning experience, right? And in order to fix it, you can't just handle the engagement part. You need to take care of the relevancy. Does it help you? And the first thing that we try to do before I even learned the term micro-learning, right, was let's break those 45 minutes to tiny pieces. First, let's break it down. We created, I remember it was a golf game. Okay, so there were like the golf fields and then 18 holes. And every 45 minutes or chapter, we tried to create this 18 holes. So we divided it by 18. And you accomplish things, so we gamified it, but also cut it down to small pieces. And then we started to see another phenomenon that, you know, instead of just cutting, let's start to search for the relevancy. For example, if you need to sell you didn't sell iPhones, and Laura, you didn't sell the Galaxy devices, right? Why should I train everyone with one size fits all, right? Let's create personalization. And then we started to connect the micro-learning elements, not just to the knowledge gaps, which this is very clear, but to the performance gaps. You didn't sell something, learn that. Or you sold it, let's go to the upsell and cross-selling and learn how to upsell and cross-sell.
What you're talking about here, though, you're talking about, when we boil it down, you're talking about motivation and engagement. And I'm keen to hear from you because motivation is very hard to sustain. Motivation is something that, you know, is great in the short term. Motivation should lead to engagement. I'm keen to hear from you. What do you think leaders need to do to keep their employees engaged, not just motivated?
So going back again to the personalization, and I would like to give one example again for me as a student. So I started swimming a couple of years ago, and like once a week, right? Definitely not professional, but I remember the days that I was in sports and an athlete. So sometimes I wear myself in swimming pool. Definitely if someone next to me faster. And I remember a day that someone from the opposite gender jumped next to me and she started to swim. And now I'm the muscular former athlete, started to swim and she swam fast. So I tried to catch up. And after 2-3 laps, I noticed that I can't. And after that, I looked at her cup that stated that she's a professional. So I said, okay, I'm fine. But this is a great example of a bad gamification design. And engagement design. If you compare people, and the first gamification platforms failed because they tried to create this top 10, the winners, the best, the people that achieve. And it created a situation that if you had the top 10 and 1,000 employee organization, so you have 990 losers. And no one would like to be a loser. So usually what they do, stop participating. So my initial reaction to this swimming story was, okay, I won't swim. I get out, maybe go to the jacuzzi or the sauna. I have an augmented reality goggles. And I can see in real time my pace. And I put to myself a goal, 30 seconds. Every lap, 30 seconds. Currently, I swim, I want to brag, almost 1.5 miles per swim, right? So around 2.5 kilometers. And I started with one client. And I try to still keep this pace. And whenever I see that I'm like 33, 34, I start to increase my pace. And it's an amazing gamification and engagement mechanism because it keeps me on track. I immediately see myself against my age, against my capabilities, and I know that I will not get hurt and I'll keep up. And for 2 years I'm swimming and keep improving. And again, I'm not getting younger, but still I'm keep improving. And this is like our perspective on gamification. Don't try to create winners. Try to move the needle, and then you will move the needle, right? If you move everyone by 10% every 3 or 6 months, you will have a great organization that will keep improving. And therefore, the gamification design is very important and critical to create this sustainability, like you mentioned, and not one-trick pony, where I think the old gamification experiences try to create the best, the top 10, and so on.
Do you think it actually maybe helps some of this motivation because we're not looking over and being like, oh my gosh, Luke is so amazing that I don't even want to try because I'm at home? Or do you think that we're losing an element of this or somewhere in between? What do you think?
Let's start with what we're losing. And I believe that we're getting into the empathy crisis. If you're a contact center manager and you have a 20 employee organization, right? You immediately see everything. People that are bored, people that are overly stressed, people that start to get into burnout, people that are rude to their customers. You see everything. And you can help them. And think of those managers. Usually they were the best agent and they got promoted. And suddenly you take their superpower, the proximity to the field and to their people, and then they can help their people, and you take it away from them. Now they need to listen to recordings, right? Now, instead of providing real-time feedback, they need to schedule a meeting. And this meeting is very cold. Laura, when I'm in New York, we're sitting and talking, and right? But if we're talking over Zoom, we're very correct, very focused on, hey, this call with this customer. And it took away the empathy, the connection, the warm connection between the managers. And this is one thing that I believe that companies are facing. That is one of the impactful elements on the Great Resignation. Because people, and recorded over a few decades, people are leaving managers, okay? They stay for the organization and their role and so on. They're leaving managers, right? It's the number one reason for leaving a manager, not for salary and not for other things.
Look, we've got an event coming up, Gal, Success 2022. It's our big flagship event, which I'm personally excited about. I'm curious, though. I want to know from you, why Success 22?
Of course, our goal in Centrical is to help customers to become more successful, right? The way is to put the employee at the center, and therefore 22 is focused on leap ahead. And I believe that there is a big, huge chasm between the past and the future. And this gap definitely not just started to form, but accelerated after COVID. So how can you be in a constant transition and transformation, right? Unless you manage things from the front lines, right? You need to motivate, educate, equip your employees that they will become the CEO.
Did you hear that, Laura?
Of every process in the organization, that they will be able to take the decisions from the field, from the front lines. If you do it, you have 100% nimble organization. Stay in your ivory tower, define the strategy, and the employees will carry the strategy to execution. But to do that, you need a leap of faith.
Nice. Yeah, it's going to be a super awesome event. Yeah, thanks for sharing it.
Hooroo, I'm Luke.
Goodbye, I'm Laura, and thank you so much for joining us. For more content that will help you elevate your employee experience and performance, you can find us at centrical.com/boost podcast.
Boost.